Hi, I am here with Matthias Roth, and I would like to ask you a few questions about your foundational training in 3 modules. What was your motivation for this foundational training?
It's that after 35 years of living and practicing Jin Shin Jyutsu on myself, and some 30 years of teaching it in many different ways, it became clear to me that there was one recurrent theme, and that is the theme of grounding and assurance, self-assurance in practicing. At the latest, when it comes to the issue of touch, a basic and underlying lack of certainty and self-assurance becomes obvious, becomes apparent. So I've taught a class called To Feel for many years now, and the idea to give a foundational training was to start from the beginning with a strong emphasis on a number of different things. Feeling myself so as to feel another. Feeling rather than just cognitively learning the content that is being talked about. Feeling who a certain safety energy lock, or who a depth, or who a certain organ function energy is to me. And trusting my perception, trusting perceptual mind versus conceptual mind, to use a terminology that comes from Buddhism, staying in the perception as the thing that grounds me in what I'm doing. And the idea behind this foundational training is that it gives a basis or a foundation to those who may be completely new to the art of Jin Shin Jyutsu, or those who, while they already have experience in the art, feel they want to finally lay that solid foundation of feeling, I have found my Jin Shin Jyutsu. So it isn't about teaching people mine, but teaching people the skills to find theirs.
Sounds great. Can you give us an idea of what a day looks like in class?
Yeah, so let me talk about Module 1, because that's the one I've already taught and we'll soon be teaching again. Module 1, 5 days around the safety energy locks, has us obviously need to cover no more than 5.2 energy locks per day, on average 5 a day. So we work with the safety energy locks on 4 different levels. We discover pathways to the safety energy locks, or to be precise, into the safety energy locks, by following human anatomy. So that's the first approach. As diverse as human bodies are, there is enough commonality between human anatomies that I can actually learn to reliably follow the body as though we're providing a set of tracks for me to find the pathway to the safety energy lock. And then we'll discover how to find the way into the keyhole to the lock, so to speak. So we'll work with the difference between on or in a lock. The second aspect is that I'll be guiding exercises that take us kinesthetically, with sensory awareness in the body, to the places where safety energy locks live. So we feel those places in our own bodies. We feel those active principles in our own bodies. We get a sense of what lives here, and that way get an understanding, gain an understanding from within of who a safety energy lock is. Third thing, we talk about the meanings, and I do that in story form, as I have for many years. The meanings of the safety energy locks, the contexts of the safety energy locks. And then the fourth thing is that we look at the flows for the safety energy locks, the flows that Jiro Marai left as an inheritance to humankind, and that I learned from Mary Burmeister. So in the morning, there'll be a round of 3 rounds of hands-on, actually, working with the pathways to the energy locks, into the safety energy locks. And in the afternoon, generally, we'll be working with one of the flows. So there'll be plenty of hands-on practice and plenty of general foundational reflection on how to be present to myself, how to be present in my touch, and how to be present to another.
And in which timely intervals would you recommend to do these modules?
A 6-month interval is often good, but really central to the question is how much are you using what you've learned. Actually, in the last module 1 in Hamburg, the idea came up of having a 1 month intensive, you know, sort of Jin Shin Jyutsu summer school, where we'd have modules 1, 2, and 3, plus body reading, plus pulse listening in a month. And that may be something to consider for the future. But right now, that's not something that's available. I believe it would be possible, because we are working on the experiential level, to take it very, very closely, and at the same time, because it's such profound training on landing within myself, it's also good to leave it some space, to give it some time to organically grow on me, so to speak. Yes, intensely working on that for a month is a lovely idea, which I hope to realize one day, and having 6 months of regular practice. See, each of the modules leaves one with tools that I can definitely and trustfully use on others, because we have so worked on how to touch, we have so thoroughly looked at creating space for the other to find his own self-regulation, mechanisms of change.
And after these 3 modules, will there be a follow-up?
Well, that is another question that could be answered in different ways. I think it makes sense after the 3 modules, the 5 days with the safety energy locks, the 5 days with the depths, and the 5 days with the organ function energy, to also study body reading and pulse listening at some point. Learning paths will be as diverse as the students who come. Certainly one way of continuing would be to retake those modules, because since they're so experiential, people will be experiencing them differently and gain different things from them each time. And the future will tell what added offers students actually want. And of course, I'll be very open to letting this evolve. We're just beginning with the first module this year. So,
will there be a certification for this class?
Well, there will simply be a certificate of attendance for each of the modules and for each of the following courses, because I do think that if somebody is truly present to each of those 3 modules, truly does practice with finding his, her own art and assurance in their own touch, then there is a solid foundation which would have to include the understanding that it is a lifetime study. And I think that's all that can ever be certified in Jin Shin Jyutsu. You know, it's a totally separate question. What legal requirement must you also fulfill to practice Jin Shin Jyutsu in your country? That will depend, for one thing, how you present yourself. Are you curing illnesses, or are you harmonizing human beings? And then each country is different there. But
thank you very much for this interesting information.
Thank you for asking the questions, and thank you for watching. You'll find all the dates of the modules happening in the different languages on my website at www.matthiasjsj.de. Hope to see you there soon.